Hello everyone and welcome to this video. So before properly starting the designing of user flows in Figma, we are going to take a look at this video where we are going to see how you can quicken up your user flow design process in Figma using components. So in the previous module, we have already seen how to create components from normal, elements in your design project in Figma. So in this video, we are going to see how exactly you can quicken up your design process in Figma with the help of components. So let's get started. So as you can see that here I have created a very simple user flow diagram. Now this is obviously an incomplete user flow diagram because no title has been given, no description given. We are not annotating that what is happening at each phase. We do not know that which one is a button, which one is an image and what not. Obviously it's a very incomplete design flow or a user flow diagram, but I have just taken this as an example to just demonstrate how you can create components from your user flow diagrams and then how you can reuse them to just quicken up your or make your user flow design process easy. Okay, so as you can see that this is the design flow. So this is the first screen, this is our second screen, and this is the third screen. So there are a bunch of components. So if you just have a look in this panel here, so we have one page and under that we have one frame. So this is this one. Let me just rename this as user flow 1. Okay, so this is our frame, and in this frame these are all the different components, or these are all the different elements, not components, but these are all the different elements that you have in this particular frame. So there is a text component, there are different rectangles, circles and all that. So let me just briefly tell you what exactly is happening. So these are the mobile frames that we have created. So as I've already told you that the first step in the creation of user flow is creation of the frame of the device for which you are designing your product. So these big squares can be, let's say this is an image of a product. Okay, so this is an image of a product, and this actually together denotes some text that has been written describing the product here, and this is our button. In the second screen, this is a carousel. Okay, so this is one image and this is the other image that you can see just half. So if you just swipe left, you can see the full image of this one. Okay, you can see the whole of this image. So this is a carousel image. Then these are again images, but these are smaller images. So you can say like smaller product images, and this is again, you can say some text related to the images. Okay, in this screen here, all of these three small rectangles, they indicate the menu. So you must have seen there is a hamburger menu in many applications. So this actually denotes that menu. This circle can be like your profile image. Okay, so it can be that maybe you have entered to your profile and here you can change or set your profile image. So this is your profile image. Then this again denotes some text related to your profile, and here is again another button. Okay, so these are all the different the elements that you have in your user flow, and I actually want to create components just to make my process easy. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do is, first let me just zoom out to 50%. Right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this entire frame, okay, with all the elements in this frame. So I'm going to press down my alt key and shift key together, and I'm just going to duplicate my frame. Okay, so I actually now have got my other frame, and I'm going to rename this as components. So I'm going to be using all the elements present in this frame for creating my components. Okay, so if I just have a look here, you can see all my different elements present. Now what I'm going to do is I do not need this text element anymore, so I'm just going to delete it. So all the things which I do not need, I'm going to delete them. Now this arrow is going to be a separate component, and I do not want two arrows because they are pretty much the copy of each other. So one arrow will be sufficient. So I'm just going to use this arrow, and I'm just going to rename this as arrow. Okay. Once I've done this, how to create a component? you can select this element, and then in the top bar we have this option which says create a component, or you can just use the shortcut that is Control plus Alt plus K. I'm just going to click on that, and now you can see this has become a component. After that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually select the device frame that I've created to be a component. So this is this one. So if you just can see, if I just try to move this, so this is the mobile frame, right? So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to create this as a separate component. So I'm just going to rename this as device frame, and I'm just going to click on this option so that this also becomes a component. Now I will actually delete all the things which I do not require now. So once done with this, what I can do is I can just remove this here. I'm just going to remove all the redundant elements, right? So we have got two components. One is the arrow and one is this frame that we have done. Now this is going to be within this particular frame. Okay. Next, what you can see is we have these three small rectangles which actually denote the hamburger menu. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all three and then right click, and then we have this option which says group selection. So all of these have now been grouped together, so I can actually move or select all of these together, and then I can actually create a product. So either you can just go and click on this option or use the shortcuts. I'm just going to click on this option, create a component, and now this has also been created into a component, and I'm actually going to name this as hamburger menu, right? So let me just put it here. Next we have this circle here, and I'm also going to make this into a component. Again, select this and make this a component, and I'm just going to rename this as, let's say, profile picture or profile pic. Okay. Once done with this, again what we have here is this button. So I'm just going to select this button, and you can just rename this as button, and I'm just going to create this into a component. Next we have these three rectangles of different sizes. Now these together will become one component. So again, I'm just going to select and then right click and then go to group selection and then create this into a component, and then rename this as, let's say, profile text. Okay, so this can be written as profile text. Done. So we are done with all of these components. So I obviously do not need this rectangle here anymore because I've already created a component out of it. So I'm just going to delete this. Next, what we have is these two rectangles, and they together are forming the carousel. So I'm just going to select both of these together, right click and go to group selection, and then just create a component out of this, and I'm just going to name this as carousel, right? Next, what I'm going to do is we have these three small squares here which actually denote the different product images. So again, I'm just going to group selection, create a component, and then rename these as product images small. Okay, again done, and this is again going to be, let's say, just a simple text. So again, I'm just going to create this into a component, and I'm just going to name this as a product text. Done. So we are done with this frame as well. Next we come to this frame. So obviously we do not need the device frame now, so I'm just going to delete this. Now we have a big square here, so I'm actually going to create a component, and this is going to be the big product image or product image big. So product image big, right? Next, what we have is, again, we have these three rectangles of different size, but they have the same length, right? They are not the same as this one here. So I'm just going to group all of them together and then create a component, and I'm just going to rename this as the product description. Okay, done. Next, we again have a button, but as I've already told you, remember not to create redundant elements into components because we have already created a similar element as a component, so we no longer need this. I'm just going to delete this. So we are actually done creating the components. Now I'm going to quickly show you how it helps, how creation of components help in quickening up the process of creation of a user flow. So again, I'm going to create a new frame here. So MacBook Pro, and I'm just going to place this here, and quickly I'm just going to show you how to use components in your workflow. So suppose now let me just go to my assets, and in the components page you can see all these components which I have. So first what I need is I need a device frame. So I can just directly click and drag. So I do not have to design this design frame again, apply stroke, color and all that. Okay. So what you can do is directly use any of these from here. So I can just resize it. I can change its color. Okay. So what I can do is I have one design frame, and now what I can do is I can actually copy this, or again take one from here, or I can just copy this. So Alt Shift to duplicate this. Now you must remember that this is not a component. This is not the master component. This is the master component. This is just an instance of it. Okay. So what he can do is, now we have already got two frames. Suppose, okay, let me just zoom in and scroll here. Okay. So now we have already got two frames. Let me just create another frame from here. So Alt Shift and drag. So we have got our three device frames. Now suppose now I want my arrows to show the user flow. That is the navigation. So I can just, easily click and drag to, create arrows. And then if I want, I can resize my arrow based on, how I want it. I can again duplicate it and place it here. Done. So I can just change the spacing between my individual components. Okay, done. Next, what I can do is, suppose I want the profile photo to be in the first screen. So I can just click and drag and place my component here itself, and then I can resize it according to my frame size. I can align this with respect to my device frame. Next, suppose I want there to be some text. So I can just place it directly, and then I can just resize it. I can change its color, and then I can align this with respect to my device frame. And let's say at the end we have our button. So I can just click and drag and then resize my button, and then select my device and align this. Okay. And yes, I have got my first frame done. So did you see how easy it becomes when you have components? So when I first designed this from scratch, it really took me some time, because I had to create these device frames. I had to create these, and different shapes, and I mean different width rectangles. I had to create rounded rectangles and all that. So it really took me some time. But now the same thing has been actually created in so much of less time, because I have actually, you know, created all my elements into components, and then I can just easily use components in my workflow. Okay. So this is how creation of components and using components easy makes your user flow design easy, and it quickens up the process. So this is all for this video. Let's meet in the next video. Thank you.